Me not watching the news, because if it's important enough, I'll know about it from memes. It's fact check true. Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Akorn. I hope all of you are having a great weekend and that you're ready for the next episode of Laugh While the World Burns, where we show some of the highlights of the idiocracy that is modern-day society. We got a lot of good memes today and some idiocracy news, so let's get into it. I'm old enough to remember when paper bags were being blamed for the destruction of trees, and plastic bags were the solution. Doctor making $174,000 a year. Member of Congress making $174,000 a year. Very true, just one of many examples. Jackie in 2022.
I've just watched the most genuinely frightening political ad I've ever seen, which doesn't even target my demographic. I honestly can't believe Twitter is leaving it up. It explicitly calls for violence. It's a calculated attempt to incite an insurrection. January 6th ain't over.
Jackie today. Hashtag kill MAGA. Hashtag death to MAGA. Hashtag 1A. Hashtag 2A, which I can only assume is saying death to the First and Second Amendment. Do you guys know if hashtag 1 and 2A would mean anything else? That's the only thing that I can think of, at least. Man caught spiking his female date's drinks with Viagra to make sure they don't get, because you never know anymore these days. Well, he's not wrong. Taxes explained to kids. Yup, 100%. And this is exactly how they should be taught, too. I read that eggs are overly expensive cause bird flu is unaliving a ton of chickens. There's an obvious solution to this. I could absolutely see there being people that would want to go out and put these on chickens. People in the 60s. I better not say that, or the government will wiretap my house. People today. Hey, wiretap, do you have a recipe for pancakes? It's very true. Your phone is always listening. The Florida Highway Patrol showed off their new ride to keep the roadways and highways safe in Florida. The one and only 2023 Chevrolet Corvette C8 Stingray is now patrolling the roadways in Florida. Florida Highway Patrol said the Corvette was seized in partnership with the Drug Enforcement Agency Task Force and was not purchased with state funds. So basically, if you have a supposed drug charge of some kind, they apparently can just confiscate whatever they want. Not that that's anything new, though. When she's cute, but then starts telling you how liberal she is. For some reason, when Biden was firing federal workers for refusing not one Democrat spoke up, but firing federal workers for wasting taxpayer money is the end of democracy as we know it, according to the Democrats. Local Facebook user discovers they can simply scroll past posts they disagree with instead of leaving an essay in the comments section. Let them leave the essay. The only other person that's going to read it is another liberal who also wants to write an essay. I want Tom Homan to deport so many illegals that I won't have to press 1 for English again. I'm sure that everyone here on the channel has seen plenty of smart cars over the years, and most times it's pretty easy to mock these cars, mostly because there isn't much room for the occupants, nor is there any room for cargo or an engine. But the one thing the smart car had going for it is that you can park it almost anywhere, right? Well, maybe not for some people. Just watch this.
Go help him. Oh my god. He's gonna hit that car.
Democrats vote overwhelmingly against GOP bill aiming to bar illegal aliens from voting. We believe that only American citizens should vote in American elections. The goal is not to trigger liberals. The goal is to save America. For some reason, that just so happens to trigger liberals. Well, because they openly show and state that they hate the country. Why they don't move to China or somewhere, I don't know. Since they hate the U.S. so bad, do you guys think that maybe we could get them deported to China? They certainly love communism, or at least they think they do. Speaking of which, so the people who made us rename everything from military bases to football teams to pancake syrup are very upset about this Gulf of America thing, aren't they? Yeah, apparently they are. I've seen all kinds of stuff about it. I guess changing it from Mexico to America is also racist. Woman caught trying to plant devices at Tesla dealership. The extensive investigation into the case began on January 29th. And here is her picture. Trump gives 16th consecutive inauguration speech in 2081. I just paid my taxes. The roads should be fixed any day now. Yeah, sure they will. And if they do, they'll raise your taxes for next year. Aftermath of the worst act of terrorism on American soil since 9/11. The aftermath of a peaceful protest for justice and equality. You know, the thing is, the top one is the only example, but there's plenty of examples that they could put on the bottom there. Critics lay into Dem senators for killing bill that would keep male crossdressers out of women's sports. Democrats in the U.S. Senate evidently don't share Americans' concerns about men brutalizing women and stealing their trophies. The Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act is a piece of legislation that passed the U.S. House in a vote in January that would have prohibited federally funded school athletic programs from allowing men to participate in programs intended for women or girls, effectively codifying an executive order President Donald Trump issued last month. Democrats led by Chuck Schumer blocked the corresponding bill in the U.S. Senate on Monday, demonstrating both their apparent indifference to opportunistic crossdressers, brutalization of female athletes, and to the supermajority of Americans' desire to see athletes compete in sports teams that conform to their sex. The idea had to come from somewhere. Yeah, they might have just found it. A company that values gender equality seeks to hire 5 women to unload 8 trucks loaded with cement. I'm sure they'll be lining right up for you. When I'm told I need a permit to build on my own property. No, not out here. Just one more reason, out of many, for why I don't want to live anywhere near the cities. The I didn't elect him starter pack. Yeah, and that certainly is just the starter pack too. Eggflation sending U.S. shoppers to Mexico, where $300 fines await. In grocery stores across the U.S., egg shelves sitting empty and desolate have become a sign of the times. A surging bird flu outbreak affected nearly 19 million birds in January alone. wiping out supply and sending prices soaring. Officials forecast a 41% increase in egg prices this year and what some are calling eggflation. Where eggs are available, consumers are often limited in the number they can purchase at a time. Breakfast chains from Waffle House to Denny's have added a surcharge of 50 cents for each egg served up. The situation is driving some people to new places to source their eggs over the southern border. U.S. Customs and Border Protection has intercepted an increasing number of eggs from Mexico, where a carton for a dozen eggs cost about $2. For comparison, the cost in many parts of California is just under $10 per dozen, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. It was just back a few weeks ago where I saw some stores that 1 dozen of large eggs were up to $9.50, and a dozen medium eggs was a little over $8. The last time that I saw, though, I believe the large eggs had dropped back down to about $6, and the medium eggs were about $4.50. How much are you guys currently paying for a dozen eggs? Man uses a lead dispenser to rob a Texas convenience store. He was shot by every customer inside the store. I actually had a video of this in one of the earlier episodes in this series. Wear extra fingers so photo/video evidence will be inadmissible, as it will appear to be AI generated. That's actually not a bad idea. I have no interest in who built the drain system. I want to know who built the fence. Yeah, no kidding. Whoever built that fence must have done a pretty dang good job. Snow White, evil queen who is jealous of her looks. That movie flopped before the first trailer ever even got released. Africa, world, donates 1.4 trillion. Africa. Honorable Ginger Gooch has been appointed a Missouri Supreme Court judge. You have been sentenced to death by Ginger Gooch. Plant-based mashed potatoes. This is why aliens fly straight past us. And yes, believe it or not, this is not AI generated. This is a real photo. It was just pretty poor quality, and my photo editing software could only clean it up as good as this. Unfortunately, a lot of the text still isn't legible, but I had the original slide for this way back in one of the very early episodes of this series. Wi-Fi, connected. Me, then act like it. Yep, every time. I hope I didn't forget anything. Even though this probably technically is legal, I'd say his insurance company would have something to say about it if they find out. Couldn't you just imagine having all of this insured through one insurance company, and you get in a wreck, and you have to file a claim for, I don't know, at least $500,000 there? I don't think they'd be none too happy.
Oh, no. You don't know what happened?
No.
Okay. Can I see some ID, please?
Yeah.
You as well, sir. So, you want to talk about what happened here?
No. I don't know what happened.
You didn't see that Tesla?
No.
Okay. Well, we have numbers.
Okay.
Okay. So, one.
Tim Wall's daughter says Trump would have deported Jesus Christ for being an MS-13 gang member. Calls right-wingers dumb. We're faking calves now? People just keep getting weirder and weirder. I don't even know what else to add to that. Is this still available? Why, yes, it is still available. Not surprised. Fake Down syndrome influencers created with AI are being used to promote OnlyFans content. This world is going to hell in a handbasket. Girls that say they won't date a Trump supporter. Well, kinda goes with the news article from a few minutes ago. Well, there it is. A gas generator being used to charge the dead battery in an electric car. My day is complete. At the first sign of spring, the state flower can be seen blooming on every roadside. There's one town near me that keeps their streets and highways in pretty good condition. But besides them and the state highways, all the rest of them are in pretty bad shape usually. Judge rules against appalling Virginia private school that suspended student for waiting to report on classmate with a bullet until exam ended. A judge in Virginia called it appalling that a school decided to suspend a sixth grader for not more quickly reporting that his classmate brought a bullet to class after the boy waited until his test was over. Judge Vivian Henderson of Virginia Beach ruled in favor of Rachel Wiggin, the suspended child's mother, in her lawsuit against St. John the Apostle Catholic School. Wiggin claimed that the private school violated its contract by suspending her son for a day and a half in September. This country is divided, but one thing we can all agree on, that Disney's Snow White live-action movie is garbage. I was today years old when I discovered the green and brown M&Ms are lesbians. Well, we don't need this genetically modified junk food anyway, so just one more good reason to leave it sitting on the shelf. Male fencer competing in women's division already has 2 gold medals in 6 events. Female opponent says she has nowhere to go. The male athlete's best finish in the men's category was 3rd place. A female fencer who forfeited a match against a male athlete said there are no options for women if men are allowed to compete in women's sports. Stephanie Turner of the Fencing Academy of Philadelphia was set to fence against Redmond Sullivan of Wagner College at a recent tournament, but refused to participate in the sport against a male opponent, and she took a knee to forfeit the match. An official approached the woman and gave her a black card, disqualifying her from the tournament with the highest tier of penalty possible. If people don't like you, that's okay. You only need to be concerned if dogs don't like you. Then it's time for some self-reflection. Dogs have very good instincts and intuition. If you see your dog acting very unusual or possibly even aggressive toward a person, especially if this is the first time they've met them, and your dog isn't normally that way, then give your dog every benefit of the doubt. Because most of the time, they pick up a lot of things about people far quicker than we do. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny now how the courts and individual judges alone seem to have more power than either the executive branch or the legislative branch. Democrats wearing pink to support women 1 day after voting to allow men to abuse women in sports. Republican woman arrested for election fraud in Texas while wearing "Ban Democrat Chairs" shirt. I read part of this out of curiosity, and basically it boiled down to that she claimed she had lived there for about 3 years when she actually hadn't been there except for just a few months. And if I remember right in the article, it said that they had to be a resident for 6 months before they could run for office. And yet another cruel blow to China, General Tso's chicken to be renamed General Don's Oriental Chicky Nugs. Since scientists brought back and cloned killer canines that have been extinct for 12,600 years, maybe they could bring back Judge Roy Bean, make a truckload of clones, and replace these knucklehead federal judges we have today. Well, that idea can't be too much worse than what we currently have today. TikToker who admits she hasn't filed taxes in 8 years calls for Elon to be unalived. And she even tagged the FBI. U.S. Attorney Ed Martin. Duly noted. Thanks for letting us know. We'll put you in the system. Talk to you soon, ma'am. When everyone thinks you've been launching missiles in the ocean because you're a madman. In reality, you've been the only thing holding back Godzilla for years. MAGA betrayal. Kash Patel appoints J6 terrorist hunter to key position. FBI Director Kash Patel has made it clear that he rejects the mainstream narrative that January 6th was a massive insurrection and has even suggested that the FBI played a role in inciting the event. These sentiments stand in stark contrast to his recent appointment of Stephen Jensen as the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Washington field office. Jensen's past role as Section Chief of the Domestic Terrorism Operations Section, in which he labeled January 6 protesters terrorists, leading to aggressive efforts to arrest them, has sparked widespread controversy. This comes as a shock to conservatives who were counting on FBI Director Kash Patel to clean up the bureau, because Jensen was a key figure in the domestic terror push against January 6 protesters. Panicked dad calls 911 about potential intruder, then hears dispatcher appearing to order breakfast.
Dylan Johnson called 911 in February when he thought someone was breaking into his home. When he finally made contact with the dispatcher, he says she was ordering breakfast.
My wife called me while I was at work at about 9:30 and said someone was snooping around the house, knocking on the doors, banging on the windows and stuff.
He called the county's non-emergency line first, followed by 911 3 times, finally getting an answer by 9:31 after trying for about 6 minutes, according to his phone's call log.
So I was panicking because, my wife is home alone with my 5-month-old daughter, and I was, coming home not knowing what I was going to come home to.
After about 3 minutes into Johnson's 911 call, you can hear the dispatcher talking to others around her and appearing to order breakfast. WTOC investigates obtained the 911 call.
Big griddle. Sorry, what?
Johnson says he was stunned by what he heard.
If it didn't happen to me, I wouldn't believe that happened to someone else. That's how unbelievable it really is.
When police arrived, Johnson says whoever was there at his house had already left. He says his wife was shaken up, but his family was okay. The dispatcher's supervisors will be completing a full review of what happened on Johnson's call. He says they'll submit a report to him that he'll then discuss with the Chatham County Board of Commissioners.
It's wild to see people who robbed us blind trying to justify being upset at us for catching them. Yeah, they do what they always do, try to play the victim card. McDonald's now hiring fired federal employees with Ivy League degrees. I agree. They should send them all to work at McDonald's. That way I'll never have to deal with them anymore. Cancel culture was created because the left cannot survive in a free market of ideas. Homeschooling Day 32 with Grandpa. Disgusted DA Vasquez reacts to county's latest budget proposal. Portland, Oregon. County District Attorney Nathan Vasquez was less than pleased by the public county budget proposal, saying that although appearing to support public safety on paper, it is using creative accounting to hide the reality. In a Thursday press conference, Vasquez said he was disgusted and blindsided by the latest proposal, saying it makes cuts to key public safety components, including 10 DA office staff members. Under this budget, this office will be laying off people. We will be unable to serve victims of domestic violence. We'll be unable to properly serve children in our juvenile services unit. You guys can pause the video and read the rest of this if you want to, but basically, the liberal politicians out in Portland sent the funding that was supposed to be for the DA's office, the Auto Theft Task Force, some of the prosecutors, Domestic Violence Unit, Organized Retail Theft Unit, and multiple other services, and instead supposedly sent that money, $23 million, into the Homeless Service Division, which this district attorney stated that division already has $200 million. Which the real purpose of doing this is just to send the criminals right back out on the streets. And that's if they were even arrested to begin with. Breaking news, all track runners will now be required to wear helmets and body padding. Batons will be made of styrofoam. This is Matt Bershiker, CEO of the ASPCA. He makes $1 million a year. He's made over $7 million since taking the job. If you want your donations to go to shelter pets instead of millionaires, give your hard-earned money to local shelters. That pretty much goes for any of these type organizations. Most of the money just goes into somebody's pocket. Police station toilets stolen. Officers have nothing to go on. What if Siri was the Pope? Well, they already have a so-called AI Jesus. They might as well throw an AI Pope in there too. David Hogg reveals the new faces of the Democrat Party. Growing up with vegan parents versus growing up eating real human food. Introducing the all-new Karen-flavored Barbie. Canada begins construction on a wall at the Canada-US border. Well, those beavers could probably build a wall faster than any of the contractors that the government hires. Who had resurrecting dire wolves for April? If you somehow was guessing that, well, you were right. The dire wolf is back from the dead. Scientists cloned extinct beast using ancient DNA. Dallas-based biotech firm Colossal Biosciences has announced the successful de-extinction of the dire wolf, a prehistoric predator that vanished some 12,500 years ago. The company revealed that 3 genetically engineered direwolf pups have been born using advanced cloning and gene editing techniques, marking the first time an extinct species has been revived. Yes, because that's all we need. More apex predators. Whatever you do, don't put them in Yellowstone. People will be out there trying to pet them. I just saw a post I didn't agree with. I kept scrolling. Try it sometime. It didn't hurt at all. Every accusation is a confession. Donald Trump is trash. Congratulations. The North Pole will be ice-free in the summer by 2013 because of man-made global warming. Al Gore, 2009. When I open my first business, I'm only hiring trans women. Men's strength, women's wages. I'm gonna be rich. The party that says, "Eat the rich," is now freaking out about the rich losing their money in the stock market. Exposing fraud is making all the worst people mad. Boss of MS-13 associate, championed by Democrats, was a human trafficker. This whole story just gets worse by the day. It takes 1,600 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of almond milk. It takes 4 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of grass-fed milk. And we're meant to believe that the latter is the one that's unsustainable and sapping the planet dry? All true, but don't forget, cows fart. So there's your problem. Reminder: the FBI raided Barron's room, but never Hunter's. Tax when you earn it, tax when you spend it, tax when you save it, tax when you unalive. It needs to end. 100%. It certainly does, but it never will. Do you suffer from anxiety attacks? Are they often caused by stupid people? Get an emotional support honey badger. Unlike other companion animals that snuggle up to provide physical comfort and a safe space during anxiety attacks, the emotional support honey badger instead physically attacks and savages the absolute living hell out of the stupid idiot bothering you, thus removing the source of the anxiety. Much more efficient. Ask your doctor if honey badger is right for you. Too bad you couldn't train them to be guard dogs. Conservatives boycott. Liberal boycott. Nobody working 40 hours a week should be living in poverty. They'd stop giving their money to people working 0 hours a week. But where would they get their kickbacks and all the other money that they use to line their pockets with? Disney didn't even spare the horse. No, the horse was racist too. Denial. Defending communism. Anger. We need communism. Bargaining. Capitalism doesn't give you equal opportunity. Depression. A change of heart. Acceptance. Communism hasn't worked. I actually looked up some of these videos, and the one there that says we need communism, it's got about 3 or 4 million views now. It's because of people like this that there's instructions on shampoo bottles. Yeah, these are the kinds of people that actually need those instructions.
People keep correcting me, telling me that it's Cybertruck and not Tesla truck. I don't care! I don't care what it's called! I hate them! I hate them! I need them off the streets. I need them off the road. I need them off the highway. I need them out of my town. I need them out of my country. I'm so sick of them. I'm so sick of Tesla trucks. Cybertruck!
Just another liberal melting down over simple facts. The person who invented Trans Person Day of Visibility. Disney adaptation. Welcome to social media. A person who does not understand humor will contact you shortly. Former Columbia University fellow, a current UN judge, found guilty of forcing young woman into slavery. The African UN judge conspired with a senior official in the Ugandan embassy in London to enslave a woman in England. an African UN Criminal Tribunal judge who is a fellow at Columbia University and has written extensively about human rights, has been convicted of slavery. Lydia Mugambi, a 49-year-old Ugandan living in Kidlington, England, was found guilty Thursday by a unanimous Oxford Crown Court jury of conspiring to violate UK immigration law, requiring a person to perform forced or compulsory labor, conspiracy to intimidate a witness, and arranging travel for another person with a view to exploitation. Besides her work for the UN, the African slaver has been a judge of the High Court of Uganda and a member of several professional associations, including the Oxford Human Rights Hub and the International Association of Women Judges. Have any of you guys heard about this on mainstream news? Couldn't you just imagine the news coverage that would be happening right now if she was white? When a vegan tells me that eating steak and eggs is unhealthy. How people with positive vibes in their bio react when you tell them a fact that contradicts their opinion. Yeah, a bunch of little spoiled children throwing their temper tantrums, just like the one at the start of the show. Marketing exec blamed for transgender public relations nightmare at Bud Light now works for LIV Golf. Dire wolves resurrected from extinction. I bet you can't guess who wrote the check. I had an article concerning this on a previous show, but I read this article here, and, unsurprisingly, of course the CIA had to be behind it. Number of kids with ADHD increasing. No kidding. They spend more time in their online fantasy world than they do in the real world. What do you expect? Good points and all true. It's also part of the reason about a lot of social issues that the younger generations are having. 1 million people are whining about Dodge telling on them. Yet not a single one of them has accused Dodge of lying. And before there's even more comments about it, as I stated on a past show, yes, I know they pronounce it Doge. However, I don't speak Latin. I speak redneck, and I'm gonna pronounce it Dodge. Or, if you guys prefer, I could pronounce it doggy. Liberals, 2021 through 24. Liberals 25 through 28. What do you guys think that they'll look like in 2029? What does a feminist use for birth control? Her personality. That's actually very true in many ways. You should own a green car. I absolutely agree. And here we come back to Snow White once again, and the original has this little pretty looking bluebird, but what did Disney do for the remake? They even made the bird black, and not just any black bird, but a vulture of all things. You can't get too much of a polar opposite of a bluebird. Raised by Camilla. Raised by Trump. Enough said. People living normal lives. Liberals. Power Rangers writer says casting Black and Asian actors as Black Ranger and Yellow Ranger was such a mistake. I actually read part of this, and I think it said that it wasn't even realized until the end of season 2 that during a staff meeting that somebody pointed this out. Mr. Bean actor Rowan Atkins blamed for slow electric car sales. The Green Alliance think tank tells peers in the House of Lords the actor's views are damaging to the government's plans for phasing out petrol and diesel vehicles. If it pleases the crown, Might I keep the water the clouds hath given me? Nope, that's the king's water, just like the king's deer. USAID, turning Democrats into millionaires since 1961. Upon doing recent research, I've decided to get a dog for home security reasons. Flame-throwing robot dog that can shoot fire up to 30 feet goes on sale in the US. I'd like to have one of those. That could come in handy. More than 80 firearms and 3 skulls found in Cannibal Corpse guitarist home. The names of his songs. Admit it, you sometimes listen to other strangers' conversations and mentally give your opinion. Yep, 100%. Portland, Oregon, a city so wonderful that Walmart abandoned it. Los Angeles sheriff threw deputy to federal wolves to appease liberal mob, union representative says. Deputy now faces 10 years in federal prison. Yeah, and from what I was able to read in the article, basically, some woman who was fighting with the police, hitting them and everything else. In other words, another liberal throwing their temper tantrum, and she ended up getting arrested. But because it's California, it might as well be illegal for a cop to arrest a liberal. Give the Democrats a week before they replace their Ukraine flag for a China one. That wouldn't surprise me one iota. I saw this earlier this week, and I just had to include it. Minnesota National Guard members receive email instructing those with gender dysphoria to voluntarily separate. Members of Minnesota's National Guard received an email Thursday explaining how to initiate voluntary separation from the Army if they have a current diagnosis, history of, or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria. This email refers to President Donald Trump's executive order that said gender dysphoria is inconsistent with the rigorous standards necessary for military service. All Democrats voted no. This is what it was for. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. One Republican voted no also. AOC vows to only use lowercase letters to fight capitalism. Brazilian woman arrested after taking corpse to sign bank loan. She knew he was unalived. Shock in Brazil after woman is arrested and charged with violating a corpse and attempted theft through fraud. Basically, this woman took her dead uncle to the bank to have him sign so she could get a loan for $3,200. Patent for rollable grave. Continue to be disappointed by everything, even after expiring. I am pro oxygen. Sweet, beautiful oxygen. Liberals. European countries wondering who will break unity and negotiate a separate deal with the US. Sam Altman admits that saying please and thank you to ChatGPT is wasting millions of dollars in computing power. OpenAI CEO and tech billionaire Sam Altman recently admitted that people politely saying please and thank you to their AI chatbots is costing him big time. when one poster on X wondered aloud how much money OpenAI has lost in electricity costs from people saying please and thank you to their models. Altman chimed in saying, "It's tens of millions of dollars well spent." "You never know," he added. I cut out a lot of the article, but I wanted to have this last part. A late 2024 survey found that 67% of U.S. respondents reported being nice to their chatbots. Of those who practice courtesy, 55% of American AI users said they do it because it's the right thing to do, while 12% did it to appease the algorithm in the case of an AI uprising. I've talked about that in past episodes before, although if an AI uprising ever were to happen, I guarantee you there'll always be a group of billionaires who are still in control of it. We're so advanced 400 years ago. When you realize you're going to be the next song. It's only a matter of time. The left is anti-cordless hole puncher and pro-environment unless they are shooting up and burning Tesla dealerships. Got it? I'm sure glad someone finally came out with a diet water. My weight was getting out of control drinking that regular stuff. Would it really be that surprising if we saw this on store shelves? Maybe they'll replace it with Brondo. Some of you know what I'm talking about. We developed the ability to talk to each other and communicate on a scale and fidelity unimaginable at any other point in human history, and it drove us absolutely insane in less than my lifetime. That's 1000% true, as most of us here on the channel have seen it happen firsthand. You guys have all seen the sale or clearance prices of items at many different stores, where if you move the so-called sale price, the original price behind it is for the same money. Well, they're taking it a step further now. They're going to put it on sale by raising the prices. This was spotted on the clearance rack at an airport gift shop in Washington, D.C. Do you ever feel the urge to tell someone to shut up, even when they aren't talking? Yes, I have. I used to be MAGA, but then I saw a purple-haired man in a dress paint a swastika on a Tesla. You won me over, Democrats. I guess they really think that they are. These days, I guess it's just most people's self-righteous stupidity. You're telling me I can't pick my bedtime, but I can pick my gender? To the owner of the black Tesla who parked behind the Orpheum on Seymour Street tonight, who told me to go myself after I told them they'd likely get a parking ticket because of tour vehicles that were going to park there, who seemed to presume I was just some nosy civilian rather than the guy running the concert tonight. Here's a photo of the tow truck I called for your car, and a photo of me eating an ice cream cone while I watched it being towed. I don't think I've ever had an ice cream cone that tasted so sweet and refreshing. I'm financially at the stage where I understand why people do fraud. Yeah, maybe so, but don't do that. Not unless you want to win a trip with free room and board. This college student says she can't read or write. Now she's suing. A young college student is now suing her old school district in Connecticut after she graduated with honors, even though she supposedly cannot read or write. Alicia Ortez, 19, has filed a lawsuit against the Hartford Board of Education and the city of Hartford for alleged negligence after she spent 12 years in the district but apparently never learned these essential skills. The lawsuit claims Ortez began manifesting problems with letter, sound, and number recognition as early as first grade, and could not read at a first grade level until she was in sixth grade, but was swept along through the system anyway. They would just either tell me to stay in a corner, or sleep, or just draw pictures and flowers for them, she told CNN about her early education. Well, this is what happens when some states removed many requirements for graduation, including reading, writing, and basic math. Canadian transvestite cancels U.S. music tour because of America's reality-affirming visa policy. Bells Larson canceled the American leg of her tour rather than admit on a visa application that she is a woman. Well, the last thing that any leftist wants to admit is simple facts. We're on our way to freedom. Let's just add a little government and... crap. Yep, it'll happen every time. It's really cool to be alive in America at this point in history because it's like the collapse of the Roman Empire, but with Wi-Fi. That's fairly accurate, actually. Most people just don't know it yet, though. Jaguar Land Rover to halt U.S. shipments amid Trump's 25% auto tariff.
Oh no! Anyway.
Wow. What will most of us ever do without a Jaguar or Land Rover? People. Women in America have no rights. Iraq lowers the age of consent to 9 years old. Afghanistan makes it illegal for women in public to speak. Too bad all the liberals don't move over there. When you start a Facebook dumpster fire before bed so you can read the comments with your morning coffee. Well, gotta laugh about something. Of course, a better alternative would be to get on YouTube and come over here to akornzstash of memes and binge watch the whole playlist. Her, take me out for an expensive dinner. Him, okay. New non-citizen Social Security numbers issued. These 4 years there make a total of right about 4 million. If people's minds are blown just because they find out that 4 million people got Social Security numbers over 4 years, I don't think they would survive if they actually found out the real numbers of illegal immigrants that has flowed into the U.S., not just across the southern border, but in every other way possible. The best way to save money is to go in the house and lay down. Not really, because then it means you're not working, and therefore you're not making any money. All the while, your electric bill, phone bill, internet, and everything else just keeps rolling in. How many of you guys think that they'll actually do an audit of Fort Knox? And if they do, how much gold do you think that they will actually show as supposedly being in there? Or will they show that it's empty? I don't know. I'd be interested to see what you guys think, so drop it down in the comments. Asking for 100% tip is wild. No, that's not wild. That's just ridiculous. What's wild is that the minimum tip is 30%, and that's for so-so service. I went into Whole Foods and got to hear a woman arguing with a guy at the meat counter because she wanted grass-fed organic chicken, and he was desperately trying to explain to her that chickens don't eat grass. Before the comment section starts blowing up, yes, chickens actually will eat some grass. We have some chickens, and there is certain types of grasses that they do eat. However, they do not and cannot eat enough grass to actually live on. They actually need seeds, grains, bugs, and a lot of other things. Whoever stole my credit card thought they was finally going to get a meal out of me. Surprise, I'm broke too. Me setting my VPN to England and spreading banned memes to troll their government. Liberals in 2025 fight climate change, vandalize Teslas. No one employed in the renewable energy industry will admit that solar panels and wind farms are utterly useless. It's hard to get a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding it. Trump aims to make taking a shower great again with new executive order. The commander-in-chief vows to end the Obama-Biden war on water pressure. Did he really need an executive order for that? Or at least, right now? I think there's more important things to be dealing with at the moment. By the power vested in me by the people who know which bathroom to use, I hereby make this proclamation. The summer of 2025 will be the summer of straight men and women. I guess we could declare it a straight pride summer. Of course, that would be called hate speech. Disney is halting the production of live-action remakes after the failure of Snow White at the box office. Gee, I wonder why. We'll get to another meme here in a few minutes that just shows more of the reason of why they have failed. When you walk right on by the palm reader booth. Mom, what's a left-winger? A mentally challenged person who lacks critical thinking, thrives on fear-mongering, and gets duped very easily into believing any controversial thing without evidence, dear. Government employees trying to write one paragraph saying what they did this week. Hiroshima, 1945 versus 2010. Detroit, 1945 versus 2010. The lesson? It's easier to come back from a nuclear strike than 5 decades of Democrat control of government. And yeah, it's 2025 now, which is 15 years later. But all through these years, Detroit has only gotten far worse. Stop trying to rap. We need electricians and plumbers, carpenters, welders, and a whole lot more trades. There's a lot of companies searching for skilled workers and can't find enough of them because everybody went to college and got brainwashed. The closer you are to nature, the further you are from idiots. Democrat judge resigns after ICE arrests suspected gangster at his home. As if that's surprising somehow. Star date. It doesn't matter. It's the end. The universe is depleted. Women discovered they could use transporters to make changes to their bodies. In a 1-year span, every ERG of energy was used in a mass movement. And now, this is how they all look. It is the end of humanity. Trust the science. Okay, let me see it. It'll be released in 75 years. Yeah, that's usually about how it goes. Why would anyone be against Dodge? Probably because those people have been stealing from the taxpayers for years and don't want to give up their scam. California high school girl says she was replaced by male athlete on girls' track team. This is reality. Sad days we're living in. The very eco-friendly, anti-global warming North Ayrshire battery recycling plant just blew up. The amount of toxins released are equivalent to 1,000 trucks with poorly tuned diesels driving non-stop for over 10 years, according to reports. The planet laughs at our stupidity. Yes, but that's a very good point. They've banned being able to use your phone at all, but yet all the new cars basically have a built-in computer now. And I've seen in some of them at least, you can't even turn your heat or your AC on without using that computer. And you have to switch between different screens depending on what you're wanting to do or control. So which one is more distracting? Minnesota police chief sparks backlash after refusing to charge Tesla vandal, calls suspect victim of online rhetoric. Outrage erupted online after a Minnesota woman who admitted to damaging a Tesla SUV avoided criminal charges, with the local police chief saying she would not be prosecuted in the case. Bloomington, Minnesota police chief is now calling the Tesla vandal a victim because people were saying mean things about her online. They will also not be prosecuting her. Unreal. But does this really surprise anyone? What they should be doing is charging people that does this with a hate crime, because that's exactly what it is. If people started going out and keying Porsches, or some other kind of luxury cars or trucks, or any specific model vehicle, so long as it was owned by some big, well-known leftist. If that were the case, they'd have hate crime charges, discrimination, vehicular destruction, and a lot of other charges. Here's a pack of bacon with cooking instructions written on the back. However, the company took it one step further. If you really don't know how to cook bacon, please contact your elected officials and complain about our education system. Every American should know how to cook bacon. Seriously. Even the food is getting political these days. But they're not wrong. Australian woman faces criminal charges for misgendering male soccer player. Asked in court if she was being mean. An Australian woman who advocates for women's sports to remain female only is facing 2 legal criminal accusations of misgendering. Corelli Smith, an activist, has had 2 apprehended violence orders filed against her by 2 male athletes posing as females and was accused in court of deliberately misgendering. No, she wasn't misgendering. She was correcting the misgendering. This is a hate crime, but this is free speech. FEMA, helping Americans in need, paying $59 million a week to luxury hotels in New York City for illegal immigrants. Liberals searching for a personality after none of their rights changed under Trump. We're still waiting to find out who cashed all those dead people's Social Security checks. I believe I have a news article about some politician that was doing it in next week's episode. The woman in front of me at airport security has a bottle of frozen water. They want to take it. She says it's not a liquid. Well, technically she's right, for the moment. Nikola Tesla's last message to his mother. All these years I have spent in the service of mankind brought me nothing but insults and humiliation. Yes, many of history's greatest creators were mocked and criticized, while others stole their ideas and received the credit. And folks, nothing has ever changed. It's been brought to my attention that I may have offended some of you. I apologize. I meant to offend all of you. And I'll end today's show with this. The United States Supreme Court laid out the requirements for birthright U.S. citizenship in 1898. The first requirement is a person's parents must be in this country legally. And the second requirement is that they have to have a legal residence within the United States at the time of their birth. Every person who does not meet those two requirements is not a citizen of the United States. Very basic and simple facts. Of course, that's what the liberals hate the most. I want to thank all of you who watched this video to the end, as it really helps to support the channel. If you enjoyed the show, please hit that like button. And if you haven't already, smash subscribe and click that bell. To help support the channel, please remember to share these videos with your family and friends, because this program is only made possible by viewers like you. And with that, I'll see you guys back here on Friday's show. Until then, I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe this week. This is Akorn, over and out.